DevOps thought leader is a solutions delivery expert at Accenture, India. He is a seasoned technology solutions expert bringing over a decade of experience in ideating and managing solutions on public, managed, and hybrid cloud. Let's tune into his talk as we uncover the interesting journey of DevOps as a whole, how DevOps as a service has come up, things that DevOps was thought to be, and how DevOps has turned out to be. With that, let's happily welcome onto our screens Mr. Santanoo Bhattacharjee.
Hello everyone. Indeed a pleasure to be here at the DevOps India Summit once again. This would be my third year at this summit, and I'm really thankful to Team Excellentro for hosting such a wonderful event and inviting all of us to connect with you all. My talk back in 2020 was summarizing how DevOps is changing the game of accelerating values with the revolutionary pillars it introduced, like reliability, adjustable development pace, enhancing the overall security posture, making infra more immutable by design, baking in security. So a lot of things have changed since then. Last year, my talk was more into the extended version of how ops is changing, the next generation ops, or XOps that I call it. So it was more into ML ops, AI ops, and how and what values it brings onto the table on this overall ecosystem of the cultural transformation we are seeing through DevOps. This year, my topic is more aligned with the line of evolution. We have seen that DevOps is evolving at a rapid pace, and this evolution is happening from a very long time. So it has become more of like a synonymous part of transformation that we call out in this ecosystem of how we build values and do development. So now it's a time which is calling for more standardization of this ecosystem. And when I say it's more about making it more easier, more convenient, and how managing the overall gamut of what it brings is something not to worry about anymore. This is where putting the gear onto the next leap, and let's see how this journey is going from now to where exactly it's going to go for the future. Let's explore. Before I begin, I'll just give a quick background of who am I. So I'm Santanoo Bhattacharjee. You can call me as a hobbyist, an evangelist, or better, I'll think it's as a practitioner of DevOps evolution. I work with Accenture's ATCI business in their advanced technology architecture science domain. I've been into community development for quite a while now, and I work with a lot of technology leaders during the week as well as during the weekends in shaping up how exactly the space of IT and the transformation it is undergoing. How can we make things much more better than what we have seen in the past and what we are seeing now? So feel free to connect with me on all the channels shown below. Moving on to the talk. So if I start summarizing what overall journey has been for DevOps, so I'll say the journey of DevOps was not more of an organic evolution, but it was a radical evolution. Overall, if I take a step back and talk about any cultural transformation, any cultural process takes a good long time to evolve organically. There are multiple factors of getting acceptance of it. So how the overall acceptance level and the kind of deterrence it has from the management as well as from the technology leaders, it has a slower adoption curve as well. So the must seek of validating everything it promises, how exactly the business leadership is understanding the change of the market as well as the change in technology. And last but not the least, how is the funding going to happen for it to test as well as to roll out. Now, when we compare it with any other cultural transformation, what we see is that the rise of DevOps adoption and the way people have adopted it and started building on top of it was phenomenal. It was not just something that was pushed with time, because it needed a very good long time to mature itself. Things like making it more open source, making it more usable or made more friendly for the development and operations engineers made the change much more faster and made the acceptance of such a change at a very rapid scale. So 5 key blocks that you see on the screen, these are basically the outlines of any cultural ecosystem, how exactly they change, how they bring in the overall gamut of developing and operating at scale, and shipping the value system, the products that we build, the services that we deliver in a very reliable way. Automation always plays a key role in kind of enabling business vision as well as acceptance of leadership. So the things that basically are the core capabilities, which from time to time has been tested in DevOps growth, are capabilities like infrastructure as a code, the immutable infra design, on-demand scaling, integrating security or baking security by design, fast fail and recover fast models, test on the fly, end-to-end pipeline development and delivery models, the overall auto-controlled, timely scheduled deployments, automation testing, whatnot. So if you see overall on the scale of evolution, there are multiple gates. We begin with normalizing and accepting the overall flow. How exactly are we buying this new change? How exactly are we getting used to this culture or something different than what we were doing till date? From normalizing that, we start slowly building a habit of standardizing it. How are we identifying the set of tools, the frameworks, the practices, and making it much more friendlier to work along with? Once we do the standardization, we think more about expanding the services, making it across business verticals, making it go to a place where it can reach more and more teams and they can make use of it in a better way. In that phase, when DevOps ecosystem reached, it actually pumped up and it actually started skyrocketing because it kicked up the core problem that we had in delivering the overall system on a timely basis. It started leveraging automation and everything as a code. So the whole delivery was much more manual configuration driven, entire provisioning, configuration, versioning, all these were offloaded through automation. This is maybe the stage when people started trusting this culture much more. They started believing in it. And then once you start believing in something which makes you very easier for you to do your day-to-day activities, it needs something next. The part is more about reaching out to people who still are not sure how exactly you've got there. This is where things like self-service come in, building it as a service. Now at this stage, DevOps is at a place where people have explored its capability. They are confident that it is here to stay and it is here to change the rule of the game. But how exactly do you think this model of moving to a platformized model or servitizing this whole model of how DevOps is seen across till today gonna be? So this is qualified by the kind of gates that we call for DevOps maturity. How do you think, or what do you think are the main gates for making DevOps much more standard? Number one, it relies on a lot of automation and a lot of tools. So everything that you use should be defined, identified, scoped, and measured. You have to use these tools and build a lot of configurations, lot of versioning, lot of redevelopment or designing of what you have already done. It has to be optimized and it has to be repeatable as well. Things which basically you have to do a lot of times. If they are put in scope, it's already mature enough to build a solution like that. And the last part is, which more or less covers everything, is automation. How can you bake in automation in every component that you are doing time to time? So all these main gates, there are multiple other sub-gates as well, but all the main gates that we see had a good acceptance factor or maybe a good score in terms of how this was enabling us. And it actually helped people to realize that it's better suited as a service model. Now, if they can make something like this, which is already mature and widely accepted in the market, pushing it into a service model helps. So this is a phase that they started getting into and they started exploring. How exactly can we move it into a self-service model? Now, when we think about a self-service model, it goes into a lot of factors of considering how exactly the market behaves. When we think about DevOps as a service, the main rationale we have to think, or maybe before I jump into it, I'll quickly try to understand the capability of turning as a service. How do you make things as a service, or why do you make things as a service? What are the key factors that platform builders or the service creators consider before making something like this as a service, or maybe integrating such a thing into their ecosystem of platforms and offer it on the market? So the key things that we seek from any platformized service offering are, number one, the top features of that particular service should be very, very easy to use, and they should be available as a capability of that offering. Number two, the core pillars what that particular technology or culture brings, they should be very easily baked in. Things like reliability, security, logging, compliance, overall performance measurement, they should be baked in all the specific services that are the key services as well as the child services. They should be there by design. Third, customization. Every customer, every user of this service will undergo a lot of customization to make their applications, to make their overall workflows fit into this service. Those customizations should be very flawlessly available, very easily available in terms of an add-on, in terms of an extension, so that they can trust that if they come to such a service and start using it, they will not have to go through the whole drama of making something different for them, or maybe changing their whole system again just so that it fits into your game of things. Fourth, it should fit into the future model. So whatever you are building as a service, it should be built for the future. If it is not here to stay for a period of 10 to 15 years at least, this service is not giving the exact confidence that customers need to start using. It should be technologically advanced, and it should be evolving time to time with the changes in the technology and the market. And the fifth and the most important thing, it should be very easy on the pocket. It should get unquestionable funding. If business leaders, they can't think of how exactly funding is to be done for such a service which they want to use, that is the justifiable funding model, it's very difficult for us to understand how do we measure that kind of a service as a value add. So any organization who is targeting to build us as a service model, anything, they will go through these basic outlines of question and they will start rating that particular advancement of what culture or tool that they're trying to make a service of. Now, if you see this whole model, how DevOps as a service or DevOps as a service offering was consolidated, it had a lot of, now this slide will make much more sense to you. It had a lot of green areas. It has everything continuous. It has automated the way we build infrastructure. It has automated the way we build applications. It has made security, performance, monitoring, compliance, all the basic overheads much more baked in the whole pipeline. So you don't have to worry about building standalone boxes for it and thinking about how they are timely maintained and monitored. So almost everything that we had in the process of it was taken care of and is to be taken care of in the most reliable and cost-efficient way. And just to repeat this point once again, since this is a service model, they have to be very clear that this cultural transformation that we are having along with DevOps and the tools, this is also time to time measured and see how exactly the market is changing. So if I put across how this consolidation started happening, now we understand that we have a lot of tools, we have a lot of cultures, but this overall process, overall scheme of things is to be made as a one unit thing, to make this as this offering for the customers to trust in it and start using it. This is the stage when a lot of companies, market-leading CSPs, as well as a lot of new players, small size, mid-size, they started equating their value proposition. Is this something which they should invest on and start building up? Now, when they started rationalizing that part, what were the decisive factors of how exactly customers? So as we build such a product, we have got our own COEs and we have started doing a lot of bucketing or categorizing how exactly customers see things so that we can build better services for the customer. So what I kind of see is that the two models of cataloging the ask always helps. One is the key factors, what basically is to be adopted to make this service the core service. And second is what are the values that you are giving along with that service, which is not even in the list of asks. If you measure both and very deeply, you are covering the whole scheme of things that clients have told you, as well as the things that clients haven't told you, but they wanted subtly on that offering. So how businesses decide if this is a better option to move or let's say build on our own, why to trust somebody who is offering as a service? Now, if I refer to a few of the leading surveys of 2021 and the market leading companies on the space, what I see that almost 35 to 40% of the companies or the enterprises who are already into their journey to the cloud, they have started migrating to this kind of a model. They have seen that there is much of a value in it, and they have started rolling out. A lot of, I'll say almost close to 60-65% of the enterprises have upvoted this thought that they see there is a potential in DevOps as a service, and they now want to understand how exactly they can also move, because their journey to the cloud is already on the go. But how exactly they can also decommission everything from an application management and infrastructure management point of view and move it to an offering, something that has been offered along with that platform. How will that be? So the reasons of their, maybe I'll say, upward is studying the market and seeing their competitors. But the reason of their deterrence is more about their application and platform dependencies, their inheritance of age-long infra, their assessment of some compliance as well as regulatory obligations. So if all these factors, and they jointly work with a lot of CSPs to get this sorted. So if this is something they overcome with, maybe in a couple of years, we'll see almost 60 to 65% of the enterprises going into a model where they are the biggest consumers of DevOps as a service, not just the small or mid-sized companies or the hobbyist groups, but enterprises are actually looking forward to certain factors like this, which will help them move and stay up to the market. Now, if you see the overall category of how this comes up. So first part is the factors they must consider before deciding if it matches their goal. Things on the left. How exactly is your application architecture composed? What are the CI/CD mechanisms and workflows you've already got? How are you storing your data? How are you transmitting your data? What is the overall configuration of your builds as well as your infrastructure? How are you, the most critical part, how are your business workflows and integration done? And how are they versioned? How is your testing happening? How is your performance evaluations happening? How are you monitoring these things? And on a subtle extent, how are you doing compliance and governance of all these? So a lot of this, now if you see these blocks are baked in by design in any service model of DevOps offering. So if you see DevOps as a service, I'll not take names of any market leaders because most of you know, but these are the basic blocks which are already as a part of offering in every DevOps as a service model graph. So if you see the core pillars, these are the main things. Now, there are multiple value adds which the customers will not come up directly, how exactly they need it to achieve their transformation goal, or what is the value that they see in it. But what we kind of saw, and this is an interesting observation, that they value things like predictive maintenance, things where it's very properly communicated and scheduled how your infrastructure changes or stays up to the market. Operational analytics, how exactly your infrastructure has been behaving year after year. Do you need to perform the same level of operations on the same level of infra that you have been doing till date? Or is there a way to better up your infra? Is there a way to better up your pipelines? Can you let go of few pipelines and make it much more streamlined so that your overall flow of delivery reduces in time? Or can you do monitoring in a bit different way? These are some important things, business aligned SLAs. Everything that they needed, are they already there, or is there something better? Maybe something that they have never thought of. One of the important things I've seen almost in every workshops I've been a part of, cost insights. How transparent are you on what exactly you are consuming minute by minute, day by day? Now I can say second by second. And few of the subtle things that leaders don't ask, but they usually measure while evaluating those RFPs of accepting DevOps as a service value proposition are how exactly is your global reach? What is the kind of enterprise base that have trusted you with this? How are you transforming your platforms time to time? How exactly do you solve problems? How is your customer success defined? What is the remediation of any issues that you have done on the platforms? Because these are some things they will not be able to see once they port it to your ecosystem of platform. So things you see on the left are the things that helps you decide if you're ready for the DevOps as a service model and start emulating it. Things on the right are something which is going to make you strong and kind of build up that trust that this is the right service provider to go to, and they are here to stay with you and they are here to grow along with you. So when you understand these factors from a customer viewpoint, things become much easier to figure out who your target will be and what exactly is the market that you're trying to go along with this service model. Now, the most interesting part is this is not something which is going to come up, or this is not something which is still on the book. This is on the flight. It's all in the market. We are using it. but it's all about how it's scaling. So the acceptance, as I've told you, almost 35% of enterprises are already there in this space. Maybe next year when we connect, I can give you updated stats, but I have a very definitive belief that by mid of 2023, you will see almost more than 50% of the enterprises trusting in this. The problem that we still have in this is businesses are still not confident in the technology. They are not, I'll not say they're not confident in the as a service model because yes, they have trusted it with a lot of other options. But DevOps as the ecosystem, beyond culture, tools, practices, they are changing every day, every hour. So whenever we trust some service provider with any offering, will they be able to keep up with the changes in the process? Are they kind of mature enough to be covering the key blocks of security, performance, global, I'll say reach on a very reliable and safe way? These are the main points where kind of companies are still, wondering how exactly things will be for the future. And that's the reason they are not taking that plunge of going into the service model. So there are multiple mid-sized boutique firms, large players who have been into this market for almost close to 5 to 6 years now, and they are doing very well. I'm leaving the top market leaders, GCCs, CSPs who have built up their own version of DevOps as a service, but I'm talking only about the niche player. So when you see how exactly this happens, so companies, so the main goal of adopting to this ecosystem is, I'll say number one, what companies prefer, and number two, what is in it for the service providers who are offering it. So coming to the first point, why companies prefer to go to this? Number one, and it's the most important one, managing the overhead. We all know that when we start building a product, when we start building a value, that's the most important thing for us. What lies in beneath how exactly things move across environments, how exactly the pipelines are working, how exactly your security is taken care of, how exactly your automation is done. Not in terms of how exactly your automation is done for testing or security, but where are they setting up, how exactly their tools are they properly patched, are they properly upgraded, are they properly integrated, are they safe, are they highly available. These are overheads. No one wants to maintain or manage those overheads. That's the whole reason people choose as a service model. So managing that overhead of maintaining things which are not needed to us is something that companies always are troubled about. With this, they can offload it. Second is with everything that you call underlying infra or underlying asset base of these services. It needs a lot of expertise time to time to maintain, configure, and keep it up to standard with the market, keep it up to standard with the changes in technology. The things are, if it is better offloaded to a service provider and they take care of it with the premium that you pay, it is much more economical than doing it on your own. Third is, they also understand that there is a continuous change happening across the bases. Tools are updating here and there. It used to be Jenkins, I'll say, 6 to 7 years back from now. So back in 2016, 2015, it was all Jenkins when I heard about the CI and started using it. Now you have 50, 60 variants of how you can do CI and what kind of a tool you can use. So things are changing, tools are changing, systems are changing. So a lot of things will need a lot of global adherence also. How is that particular tool compliant, secure, better, available? So all these is a lot of extra. I'll say it's a overkill for any company who are not into the business of doing these things. Usually, I'll say these are the core factors. Companies think that it's good. This is not something that we want to invest in. We want to continue investing in. Let's define the ballpark for what exactly this could be. And if it fits for us to move it into a service model, this is where we don't want to stay and we want to go there into the service model. So companies overall, I'll say these are the main things which will make them much more fundamentally stronger in understanding the basic fact that they are here to business some value, which gives them the identity that they are in the market for. Things which does not matter to them, it's better to be offloaded. What's in it for the service providers? Why will they care about building such a platform? So number one, they are in the market to make money. So they know that what exactly they are doing right now with the extensions or with so whatever they promise, but that's the main goal. So let's say most of the players who have actually standardized this whole offering, if you see, they've already got their platforms very stronger. The CSPs, the cloud service providers, they are the first ones to enter this and start teaching us how exactly service model could be much more better. So why? Because you're already into their cloud. You're already on the way to make the best use of the cloud. If you come in a proper way, the way they want you to come and use their platforms, nothing better for them. But if you come in multiple ways, it's very difficult for them also to make their platform available, secure, and standard. So that's the main thing. How exactly you are going to a place where you're entering? Are you going the way they want you to enter because they can host you and treat you much more better? Or do you want to enter in any way possible? Because that eventually they can manage, but that will be a bit more tough for them to do. So number one. Number two, this continuous growth of this overall ecosystem of tools, processes, frameworks, this to them is a very good proposition. They know it's going to be a challenge for any organization to maintain. It's going to be a challenge for any businesses to keep it up to speed. So if they build up a service model and build up a service which they can offer something like this, it's very, very good for them to kind of offer it as a value. And third, what they do is they understand the technology space very well and much in advance. So they can anticipate because they have got diverse portfolio of customers. So they can see things that maybe most of the business leaders in the market can see a bit later. So that gives them much more control in shaping up the gateway of such things. So if you get the whole profile, how exactly people are entering into this space, one thing I can definitely conclude on this point is DevOps as a service is something here to stay and scale. Companies who were a bit reluctant back in 2020, I'll say, because I had one of the other talks where I have just updated about a blog post I've written on this model. But even back then, I was not sure how exactly market is going to be for the next 5 years on this. This year, with all the offers, all the services I've seen that they have come up with, I see this is here changing maybe 40%, 50% of how they were in the previous year. So they are scaling up fast. They are making their services much better. If you go on to such kind of a platforms, from the data you bring into them, from the matrices you give to them, they can better up their existing platforms and better up their existing offerings. So it's a win-win for both. It's a win-win for customers who want to go to as a service model because they get to kick out a lot of overheads and a lot of tensions that they were taking because of this underlying infra, and they can very easily use all the services that they need. It's a very win for the service providers as well because they right now are very clear that with you, we grow too. So the more you trust in us, the more you grow with us, the more we grow too. So this is here to stay, and we hope that this will be much more controlled and much more better in the years to come. I'm very happy to be here and speaking to you all today through this talk. I hope that you will enjoy the rest of the summit as much as I'm here to enjoy the other sessions as well. Feel free to drop in your thoughts. Good day ahead and enjoy the rest of the summit.